gon' make some moves tonight, yeah, stand up. Got something to prove tonight, so stand up. We ain't gonna plan tonight, we gonna take action on our dreams and fight, alright. We ain't gonna stall, never stop. We gon' make it all till it's out. We ain't gonna plan tonight, we gonna take action on our dreams and fight, alright.
And welcome back, folks. It is Scott Schertzen alongside the far better looking and far more charismatic Mr. Haylon from Five Borough Footy. And this, of course, is MLS Sports Writers React. We're going to be talking NYCFC, as is often the case in this case, because believe it or not, blink, and we're already halfway through the first half of the season, or halfway through the season already.
Very true. And this is usually the point where, you are what your record says you are. You know what I mean? So you mostly wherever everyone is essentially what it's going to look like by the end of the season. It's obviously going to change around a bit, but this is for the most part what it is.
But yeah, we're going to be talking the first half of the season, where things stand, games that they should have won, games that basically maybe they got lucky to get a point out of it, or whatever the case is. Predictions for the second half, thoughts for the second half. And seeing what we can predict as a landing spot for a team that's currently 10th place in the East right now. As always, taking your comments, taking your thoughts. I'm sure some of you have some thoughts as we're going into the second half. First of all, reuniting with an old friend, by the way. But again,
intro music. That's like Eminem circa 2003. That's like motivational Eminem music.
That actually, credit to that dude. That is a YouTuber named Netflix, and all of his music is public domain. The dude's got like 7 million subs, but all his music is available as public domain. You can use it however you want. Tag him, don't tag him, doesn't matter either way. He does not do anything when it comes to the legal aspect of it. He's like, if you want to use it, use it. We don't care. He's really chill about that. He's out of Texas somewhere. So, but it's got that feel that kind of works for someone a little older like me. But yeah, shout out to Netflix wherever you are.
Netflix?
Yeah, Neffex.
Nice. Okay, Netflix.
So yeah, but he's got a lot of songs on there, and yeah, he's just cool. He's just, you know what? I'm not gonna sell him. Just use him however you want. He probably makes bank off of that anyway, probably through like YouTube.
Right, yeah, for real. But I tried to be musical one time in my life. I tried to make some beats and get into a DJing. Did not work out.
Yeah, I've started learning the piano like 18 times, but yeah, just to play stupid shit like when a piano's there, and just like knock out a theme from Kingdom Hearts or something randomly. But
dude, it's such a flex if you could just hop on a random piano and knock something out. That's such a flex. Yeah,
my school wouldn't allow it back when I was in high school. It tormented me for life. So, but yeah, like I said, at this point we're already halfway through the season. We got a match coming up on a Thursday, which is a little odd this time around. Up against Atlanta United and reuniting with Ronnie Dyla. And, of course, having a match that last time out down in Atlanta was kind of a disappointing match, to say the least.
Yeah, it was, the 4-3, right?
Yeah.
We go up 3-1, and then a couple mistakes later, a couple defensive errors, and, yeah, we were walking out of Mercedes-Benz with zilch 0. Stingy with De Niro. I feel like playing this game at home is a different type of energy. The fact that they were able to go on the road to Atlanta and put together what was a pretty damn good performance right up until the latter half of that game. It speaks volumes to the differences between the two teams.
Now clips it in. It's a good ball.
This, of course, being like the game time goal here. What I really wanted to pull up was, this one right here. We spent a lot of time on this center back role.
Yeah.
Thiago, where are you, Matt Friesen? And then, of course, that shit going there. We're going to come back to that one in a little bit.
You know what's funny about that is that, like, I haven't seen that clip since the last time we spoke about it, and so now it's sort of fresh again. And now seeing it with new eyes and having had a lot of conversation about it, Thiago.
Well,
but it's funny. Since then, go on.
No, I was going to say we're going to talk about our mid-season awards and lack thereof in a little bit. And Thiago may come up once or twice.
Since it's funny, still speaking about this game on Thursday. Since then, both teams have really ballooned their way into different areas of form. New York has kind of been sort of inconsistent, some stretches of good form, and then some harsh dips. Whereas Atlanta, to my knowledge, right, they've been pretty bad, right, since then.
Atlanta right now is sitting 13th in the East. 17 points in 17 matches. NYCFC currently at 20. You know what? Let me do this. Let me pull up the standings here. Bear with me just a quick minute.
Well, anywho, the Atlanta are coming into this really kind of like on a stretch, not in the best form, not having the greatest season. New York, there's still some water to squeeze out of this stone of a season. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I can see this being actually a pretty good win for New York. But we said that about what was the trap game? We said that about
Montreal's a trap game.
Montreal. We said that about Montreal, and we saw how that turned out. But yeah, it's my hopes are pretty high for that this game coming up. I could see it being like 2-0, 2-1, maybe.
Possibly. This is, by the way, these are the numbers for Atlanta for the last 6 matches right there. So they've won 2 out of 3 going into the break.
Yeah, there you go.
They beat Cincinnati on the road, which is no small feat. And even Orlando was actually no picnic there either. But
I'm sorry. So for which way? What's the most recent? Is it the Red Bull game or is it the Chicago game?
Yeah, top
the
to
Red Bull.
bottom. Top to
Okay,
bottom.
gotcha. So it's the Red Bull game. Okay, so it's an interesting kind of type of form that they're in right now. And now they got us next. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a good matchup because, do you want to get into talking about the first half of the season now, as far as like?
Let's just finish things off real quick with Atlanta. I just want to finish a couple of quick thoughts on this. Atlanta, by the way, if you look at their record, they are 0-5-2 on the road. We're going to come back to this. I just want to finish this thought in my head a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's going to be curious to see how the teams come out of the break. The rest was good, but I wonder if it's going to be too much of a rest. I would almost say it's going to be a 1-1 or 1-0 final. I don't think there's going to be a lot of scoring going on in this one. But if you want to do awards, let's do awards.
Sure.
So, yes, we're going to call it our midseason awards. Who is the MVP? Who is most improved? Who needs to raise it up? And I'm adding it just for the hell of it. The coolest to us after a loss award. This is the player that if the team gets absolutely shit-canned and they drop a match 2-0, 3-0 in embarrassing fashion, who honestly is still willing to talk to us after that? I already have one person in mind. That's literally why I'm throwing that out there.
And I think we both have the same guy.
Probably because I sprung that one on you in the last minute too. So I don't think you're too happy about that.
But I also have a guy in mind. He's been pretty accountable since last year. So
sure. But yeah, right off the bat, do you want to take the first one? Do you want me to? I'll take the one you don't though.
No. You go.
All right. I think honestly, team MVP, same as it would have been last year. I mean, I think if without Matt Freese, you don't have anything.
Oof.
And I listen. I know Alonso Martinez is probably the choice there.
Oh, listen, no.
You don't think so?
No.
I think in this case, I think he. Listen. You may say Alonso, and I don't blame you on that one. But the reason I'm saying this is because you need an anchor and a leader.
Yeah, I hear that.
That's where I start with him in this particular case. Also, because who knows how much longer he's going to be around.
Right.
With the men's national team coming, calling, and all of those kind of things happening. It's going to be interesting to see where he goes from here. So, I will still stick by Matt, despite the fact there's been some challenges there. Because, again, you need leadership in the back to develop the front.
Yeah, it's MVP to me. It describes someone who, and I think we've talked about this before, but when we were talking about team captains, but MVP to me describes someone who, even when they're having bad form, even when the team is collectively having bad form, they still resemble themselves. There's still flashes of, oh, okay, so you're still the same guy, even in the middle of a battlefield. You know what I mean? And even when Matty gets like 2 or 3 goals banged on him, he's making good saves. He's making your typical Matt Freeze game stopping, game saving saves. And I don't know. He's one of the few guys on the team that does that. That they don't. He rarely ever looks unlike himself. Does that make sense?
But he's not your MVP.
He's not my MVP.
All right. I think I know who it's probably going to be. It's the only other choice that I can think of in this case.
You want to take a guess?
I was going to say Alonso.
It's Hannes, actually.
Okay.
You want to know? So my reason for Hannes being my MVP pick is he's been asked to play like such a variety of roles under Pascal, and Pascal, as we know, has been like toying with a bunch of different tactical concepts. And there have been moments where Hannes has been, he was kind of he was splitting shifts on the left wing and the right wing, and now he's kind of full time on the left wing. When he's asked to play on the right wing, he's being asked to be more of a creator, like from the central spaces. When he's playing on the left wing, he's being asked to kind of stretch the game down the wing and be a creator from out wide. There have been times where he's flat out played as a cam. There have been times where he's asked to play as a left back, but a really high operating left back. So like, I guess a wide left midfielder, in a back three setup. And I just feel like in every single one of those instances, he's been responsible and professional about it. His body language is amazing. He's rarely ever sulking, or he's constantly moving. He's constantly pressing. His work rate is crazy. And yeah, and the fact that he's, I believe, the second highest goal contributor, it's kind of answered a lot of the questions. It's answered a lot of the questions coming into the season after the sale of Santi, truthfully. Now, a lot of people would probably say, oh, but he's not really filled the shoes. He's not Santi. Yes, he's not Santi, I guess, whatever, right? But the team needed somebody else other than Alonso to step up and help make a difference in games. And I think it's fair to say that Hannes is, at least now at the level that he's operating just presently, form-wise, he is one of the primary difference makers on the team. So yeah, Hannes is my MVP.
That's fair. Actually, we're going to get to this in a sec. He was going to be my most improved. So he was on my list. And I'll get into why in a second on this. But,
gotcha.
but yeah, I can see why you talk about that, because that support system to Alonso Martinez that Santi was last year, and that's the unsung aspect of it. I would have figured you would have said, Martinez because of the goal contribution, or Matt Freeze because everything I just said. So yours is a pick I wouldn't have put for MVP, but if there was a second tier MVP or like an unsung MVP, I probably would have definitely gone that route. But I kind of made up these awards earlier today, so
I liked the unsung hero one. That felt pretty specific.
Right.
I know you. It seems like you approved it.
Why not?
Yeah.
Maybe just.
So you want to go next again?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I already kind of answered it, but most improved, I think, for me is Hannes Wolf, because he did talk about having to adapt last year, both physically, professionally, and personally, to living over here. His challenges that happen there. He's at 6 goals for the season right now. He has already surpassed his goal total for last year, by the way, which was 5. Okay. His team high when he was in La Liga with, I think, Leipzig was 8 as total. So he is pretty much on track for his personal high as well, and has felt, I think, more comfortable. Just in conversations with him between, a year ago to now, he seems more adept to the environment and where we are and how things are. Yeah. And I think he feels more secure. And maybe it's a second-year thing. Maybe it's a Nick Cushing to Pascal thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
it is.
In this case, I think he has become a little bit more of this, maybe, with Santi on the wing, maybe there was a degree of uncertainty that he didn't know what his own future was, where he had to basically show his value and proof, come into a system in a country he's not familiar with and suddenly compete against a guy who was arguably could have been considered MVP last year in a lot of ways. So I think when Santi got transferred out, maybe he saw it as his window to be like, okay, the pressure's off me to have to match that guy. Now I can just be that guy. So I think a combination of all those factors put him in a position where he's a lot more secure in what he wants to perform and how he wants to be. And like I said, at 6 goals already surpassing his total from last year, yeah, I think he has become what Alonso Martinez needs and what they've needed on the wing for probably 3 years, I'd say.
Yeah. And there were times, I mean, in the last 3 years, there have been, guys that were able to bring that, GP and the like. But Hannes, funny enough, last year probably could have been having a similar performance to this year, if not for Santi. So if anything, Santi's sale, it created the space for him to kind of really flex his muscle and show that he can be a contributing member, a primary contributing member of the squad. So do you want to jump to, so you said most improved. Most improved. Most improved. If I had to pick one, it would be Micha.
I can see
Micha right out the gate this season. He's just moving different on and off the ball. There's more urgency. There's more confidence. There's more decisiveness, right? And the best thing you could ever be is a multi-purpose player. Like, yes, it's good if you can do your one job well. If you're a goalkeeper, it's great if you stand on your head and you keep the goals out. It's even better if you have some extra thing in your bag that can help the team. You know what I mean? You're good with your feet or whatever the case may be. So, and it goes all around the pitch in every position. So, and Micha was always athletic, right? But unfortunately, last year that was kind of the only strength he had. Really, I mean, there was not much he was doing in the attacking third. You wouldn't really say he was the better defender of the two options we have on the right side there. So he was kind of struggling to find his place, right? His lane in this team. And then coming into preseason and then into the start of this season, it was very clear that some work had been done, and now he is far more effective in the attacking third at not just progressing the ball into those areas or receiving the ball in those areas, but then creating consistent danger from those areas and getting the ball into dangerous spots. He's not just smacking shins all the time anymore. He's actually getting the ball beyond that first defender or second defender and into really dangerous spots. But at the same time, he's progressing the ball with the ball at his feet, right? He's actually taking guys on in that way. And the one thing that we expect our defender to do, he's doing it. He's actually been a pretty responsible defender. As much as he gets forward and is such a threat in the attacking third now, I've never really felt, at least not like I did last season, I never really felt like he leaves the team exposed. You know what I mean? Like, it's maybe that's a bit of Thiago being the consummate professional and, our resident Van Dijk and knowing how to cover for an extremely attacking fullback, right, in those moments. But I think there's never really been a moment where the ball, like an egregious moment where the ball's been turned over and I've been like, oh my God, Micha, why are you that high? So yeah, Micha's my most improved for all those reasons I just listed over the last 2 hours of speaking that I did.
All right, perfect. So I'm just changing this right here, but yep, there we go. You talked about the unsung hero. So we're going to have to find the unsung hero on this one.
Unsung hero. I have one.
Yes. Okay.
No, you go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I guess it is back of mine. I got it. In a lot of ways, I think I got to go Justin Hack right now. I think very
Okay.
quietly in the back there, doesn't get a lot of attention, doesn't get a lot, but the defense as a whole, I think numbers wise, with the exception of the Atlanta game, of course, I think has been better, and I think the team has that secure backing a little bit more that's allowing the team to become a little more forward.
Yeah.
I would like their record to be better. I would expect their record to actually be better than it has been right now, because 10th in the East halfway through the season. I think last year was actually better at the midway point than it is this year. I'd have to look that up.
Mm.
But I
Okay.
think they had a better record at the 17 games in last year than they do right now. So irrespective of that, for the certain, in this case, the unsung hero, I think, for me, is Hack, because he's very, very quiet in the back. He does the job. He seems more comfortable and more confident, and he's just holding it off down there. And like I said, if there's questions, regarding Thiago Martins, where things stand with him now and the future. I mean, Hack could take over. Aiden O'Neill's in the conversation, sure.
Right.
But at this point, for any of these awards, really, I think Aiden O'Neill is not at the point to win anything because he hasn't been around long enough.
Right. Yeah.
The
unsung hero one, that really could go to a number of guys. Just honorable mention here, Maxi, right?
Yeah.
This is the second year in a row that we as media members have openly doubted Maxi's ability at age 67 to be able to consistently contribute at this level, right? And
is that like dog years, by the way?
Yeah. Yes, it's dog years. It's perrito years. Yes, just by looking at him, you can tell he's lost his step. Obviously, he's not the same Maxi that we're used to, that even he's used to. But there's a type of calm that just having him on the pitch brings and gives the guys. He really is a talisman. We say that, but I don't think we truly appreciate how literal that is. He's a symbol of this team and what it, like, the best of what this team has ever achieved. And just having him on the pitch, even at 60% capacity, is priceless, right? So unsung hero there, that's an honorable mention. My real unsung hero, this is a hot take, Strahinja Tanasijevic.
Interesting.
And
definitely under the radar right out of the gate.
So he hasn't really had much time. He hasn't really gotten many minutes. And I kind of want to start there, because typically when you're a player, he's a European player. He's come here, the whole coaching change and all that. And then now under this new coach, he's not really getting many minutes. You would think that a player like that would, I mean, he played with a bit. It was obvious he was playing with a bit of frustration last year. Last year, it was obvious that his head wasn't in the game, and he was sort of a liability at times, right? Committing really bad fouls and really bad moments, or being too aggressive and leaving open spots in the defense. And it just seemed like he wasn't. He was having a hard time adjusting. And in the few the few moments that he's gotten the chance to play under Pascal, he's played with a type of, again, I use this word, but it's important, it's urgency and a type of responsibility. And it's the same Strahinja. I call him my favorite term for him is he's an MFer, right? Every team needs one. Right. You look around Madrid, you have Sergio Ramos, you have Pepe. Really, you look at every, AC Milan, that classic AC Milan squad. Who's their MFer? Gennaro Gattuso, right? So every team needs a guy that the other team's supposed to think is a little bit, that there's a wire loose, right? And Strahinja is that guy on this squad. But the thing with those guys is they toe the line of liability and enforcer, and the best of them, they manage to be an enforcer. They use the dark arts without getting in trouble, and so Strahinja has managed to find that healthy balance between enforcer and liability, and quietly has been pretty consistent defensively. He's made a case for being that number 3 guy behind Thiago and frankly Burke at this point, and who is another one I'd like to talk about at another junction. But yeah, I believe he's one rung below Keaton as far as aerial duels won. And both of them are behind only Matt Freeze, who gets to use his hands, right? And Maximo Carrizo, who's played all of 2 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So after you eliminate those two,
that's why I didn't do a Rookie of the Year award, by the way.
After you eliminate those 2 guys, Strahinja is standing out in that regard. And like I said earlier, but it's great if you're amazing at your primary job. And it's a nice bonus if you can offer something extra, right? But it's perfectly fine if all you are is good at your one job that we're asking you to do. And that's what he's doing right now. When he's brought on as a defensive sub, he's able to hold it down and just keep the game under control and not be a liability, not like last year. And yeah, that's my unsung hero.
And that could also be a Hannes Wolf thing too. He never played outside, on the west side of the Atlantic before. He played in France. He played, in Slovenia, I think it was. So he never really played over here yet either, and might have had a couple of challenges there too.
Right.
But all right, you know what? And you got a point there, because in this case, especially on the defensive side, it's a little bit more. It's definitely more unsung, because you don't get your defense. A good defenseman doesn't stand out. Goals stand out. Action stands out. But if you sit there and you do your job, and this is defense, I think, for the most part, in a lot of different sports, where, in basketball and hockey, if you're a defending defender and you don't score, but you're plus minus, which really, really, really has to be a more involved statistic when it comes to soccer. I'm a huge proponent of the plus minus, but it's not used. But if your plus minus is good and you're a defender, dude, that's what they want.
I forgot one more honorable mention for unsung hero or most improved. And honestly, both categories. Monsef.
Fair.
Monsef.
He did get his goal.
He's currently leading the team in aerial duels 1 per 90.
First 30 minutes tonight,
right? And what that says to me is added on top of what he already established last year, which is, okay, I mean, again, let me establish this right now before I say all of this. I was the founder and president of the Sel Monsef Bakrar Club, right?
I thought that was Coach Joe.
I was nicer about it. But I will always let new information change my mind. Right? I will never just remain, stuck in my opinion. So the new information being, he's added aerial duel winning to his game. He was already one of the team's most fervent pressers of the ball. He was already a good ground duel winner, right? And he had a really good XG rate. And I just feel like if Pascal was to toy with 2 striker setup, it's nice to know that at least one of them is an aerial duel winner, right? That Monsef could be that sort of pseudo target guy. He's not a target guy when you really look at him. He's 6 feet tall, but he jumps high and his work rate is crazy. So he could just be that bruiser that really just draws a lot of the attention and creates a gravitational pull that'll open up lanes and spaces for Alonso to really exploit. So yeah, Monsef is my other unsung hero. Nice. and most improved honorable mention.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. The thing about Monsef is that every week he's still getting time. Now you could chalk that up to the fact that, they're short on roster spots or this, they're that. But religiously, 60, 70 minutes in, whatever it is, not at 89, but he's getting a
Yeah.
legit final third of that match, week in,
Yeah.
week out, match in, match out. So as a result, he's still clearly doing something right. That Janssen is like, okay, we're going to put you in because you're worth my time, and I think that's where Pascal's mentality is that everyone on that pitch in that moment is worth his time. And
it's go on.
I was going to say it's similar to Kurt Russell. If you ever saw the movie Miracle from 2005, it's like you need to play in a position. Yeah, about the 1980 Olympic hockey team, the upset team. And he said, you need to play so in a position that you don't give me any choice but to put you out there. You
put me in that position. Yeah,
you have to put me in a position where I have the only option I have is to put you out there because I'm looking for.
I'd be crazy not to.
Yes, and he said that to all those guys because in this case here, he was looking for reasons. Herb Brooks was looking for a reason to pull those people off and replace them. And every one of them fought so hard to be the guy still on the ice. Yeah, and the result was finally, the gold medal win. But in this case with Munsef, he is earning those last 30. Will 100%. He replace Alonso? Probably not. But he's still getting his time to build from.
Yeah, it's I heard something recently. I really apologize for being so vague about it, but it was referring to just the culture of soccer, and it spoke about just where you earn your respect as a player, and it's in training. You earn your respect in training, right? And I'm sure Munsef and all the other players who Pascal gives chances to, they earn that probably most likely in training. But the vibe I get from Pascal actually is he goes off what you do in the game more so than what you do in training. Because I'm basing that off of a comment he made about Augustine. If you remember, when he said Augustine is so direct in training and he's willing to take guys on and go 1v1, and he's so good at it and efficient at it. But then when he gets into the game, he somehow is more timid. And for that to stand out to him, it means he puts a lot of weight, and should, because that's how I would be, on your ability to execute in a game.
Sure.
And for what it's worth, I'm sure Munsef is performing in training, but in the few times that he's gotten starts, he's demonstrated, again, I'm using this word for the third time to describe him, urgency. It's urgency. He never really was like a not urgent guy, right? But he just has a different type of energy. Even he demonstrated that on I can't remember what goal it was, but when he tracked all the way back and stopped an attack, right? And it resulted in who scored that goal?
Which one?
I think it was against Chicago. Remember when he intervened? Chicago had the ball. He intervened in the defensive third. He tracked all the way back to the box, intercepted it, and started the counterattack.
Yeah, Baccarat, Hannes Wolf, and Alonso Martinez had the PK.
Right.
So yeah, that was about a month ago.
I think it was. I think I remember the play now. It was Munsef, and then he played it through to Julian, who then crossed it over to Hannes, who scored. And that play doesn't happen without Munsef having the energy and the urgency to get back and intervene in that moment. So yeah, I think that's stuff like that, and he spoke about it actually in the presser after. I genuinely think that Pascal places more emphasis or worth in what you do in the game rather than whatever you do in training.
Makes sense.
What I mean?
Yeah,
it does. It 100% makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what you do on the pitch is what matters. And the truth is, training and the pitch are two different ball games. They're two different worlds.
It is.
Where it's a different kind of pressure, when you're in a smaller group. But then when you're suddenly on stage, we'll call it that.
Yeah.
In front of 20,000
when there are stakes.
Oh yeah, dude. Different ball game. It's like, you can practice as much as you want in front of the mirror and be great. But as soon as you're out there in front of, this array of bodies where you can't even see anybody after a while, all you see is just colors. You know, that is a weird feeling when you go out there on a stage of any sort and you're looking out there and you just know there are thousands of people past what you can see. You can't see them. You know they're there, you know,
and
but
they're all fixated on you.
You know.
Yeah.
So, and that's like I said, when you have that kind of a feeling, it can make or break you as a person. So, but yeah, I think you got a good choice there as far as like, you know, as Munsef goes as an unsung hero, you know, that, like I said, for me, just a hack, but no, I don't see a problem with anything you just said right there, sir.
Yeah.
So,
so where do you go now with the who needs to raise it up? I think I know who you're gonna say.
I hate
Maybe
to say
actually
it,
I could be wrong though.
I hate
No,
to
you're gonna
it.
say you're gonna say it.
All right, who am I gonna say? You're building this up. You're
gonna say Alonso.
No, I'm not.
Oh.
No, because listen, he still has like what 7 or 8 goals at this point in the season.
8 goals, yeah.
8 goals, yeah. You know, yes, he had the 2 PK misses and everything like that. That's something you got to shore up because that's that, you know, that Chuck Knobloch, you know, yips thing going on. You know, when there's nothing, there's no pressure. You got to, you know, you have to think. You don't have a time. You know, when in a regular situation, I can't talk anymore. When you have a regular situation and you can't think, you just act on instinct. But when you think, you freeze. No, you know what? I think, and it kills me to say it a little bit because I like to do, but I think Thiago. I can't let go of what happened in Atlanta. And I think that has left a mark on his relationship with the team in that moment.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, leaders can't show hurt, doubt, or fear. That's the first rule.
You're speaking about one specific side of his game. Yeah, his ability to lead the team.
It hurts my heart to say this too. It really does, man. I'm sorry.
I do think it's the only one I disagree with because it feels a little harsh considering the fact that he started the season not having had a preseason, so he was a little rusty and it showed. And in the last like 4, maybe 5 games,
he just feels different this year, though.
No, brother, he's been good. He's been good.
He feels.
Look at it again. Look at the numbers again. He's been good.
I was going to say he feels different in an environment. You know, in the mix zones, he's different.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He's a little bit more defensive in the mix zones. So needs to improve, needs to raise it up. You ready for this one?
Yes, sir.
I already said it. It's Alonso.
Okay.
You know why?
The PKs?
Yes, that's part of the bigger problem. Yes, he has 8 goals on the season. Love that, right? His non-penalty goals minus expected goals, he's last on the team with negative 3.1.
Interesting.
The one with the most, who's outperforming his expected goals, Hannes, plus 1.9. Now, that's why I called Hannes the MVP, because he's been outperforming his expectations, whereas Alonso has been actually underperforming his expectations. Alonso ought to have maybe 12 or 13 goals right now. Right? Maybe 12, 11. And what that's speaking to is a point I've been making all season about him. Is not really all him. It's really more about how the team's using him. So it's not really all on him. But the type of chances he's being given are not in alignment with the type of chances he thrives with. Right? The type of chances that he's being fed are, he's running in behind 1v1. He's expected to make a 35-yard run, get onto a ball, beat a guy, and score past the keeper. And time and again, when those type of chances pop up for him, he struggles with it. And I don't know if it's a fitness thing where, he gets tired by the time he has to make the final action, or if it's just not his game thing. Because of those 8 goals, I would wager 5 of them, maybe 4 or 5 of them, are directly poacher's goals. directly poachers goals, whether it's him pouncing on a bad pass from the opposing team's defense, or one of the midfielders like Keaton or Maxi shooting on goal, the save happens, and then he's there to pounce on it. That's where a majority of his goals have come from. Him lurking in the box and cleaning up, like eating leftovers, right? And what the team keeps trying to do by playing him in behind is, instead of handing him a finished plate where he just has to finish the meal, they're giving him the groceries and he's expected to cook, plate, and then eat it. Have you ever cooked a big meal, Scott? Have you cooked a meal big enough to where you just weren't hungry enough anymore?
Yes.
You were so tired, you were like, oh dude, I don't even want to eat.
You're tired of looking at it, you're tired of the smell of it, you're tired of all of that.
Exactly. You're just exhausted. Notice the words you use, tired, right? I just think at this point, Alonso is being misused in one direction, and it's creating a type of strain where now he's developing a case of the yips, and you're seeing it with the penalties. Yeah, he missed those penalties. You want to know where those other 3 goals came from? 2 of them were penalties. One was the ball in behind from Micha, which, by the way, was a deflection from Micha. So that was the one goal where he was played in behind, and it was like a traditional mobile striker moment where he was able to convert it into a goal. And frankly, I don't think it's not enough. It's either you start converting those chances, right, and you start outperforming your expected goals, or you adapt your game to be used differently. You come short, you drop into midfield, you receive the ball between the lines instead of in behind the lines. You just deliberately change your pattern of play so that you find yourself in situations that suit your preferred game style or playing style. Yeah. And that's really why he's the raise it up, because for a guy that's meant to be the tip of the spear, the danger, it's a high expectation. I am the danger.
I am the danger.
I'm placing high expectations on him, and it's probably unfair. It's his first year as the guy, right? Last year he was a converted winger, and he's frankly learning a new position on the fly. Like he's learning to be a medic on the battlefield, right? So I understand that there's going to be some growing pains with that. But come on, step to it. Step to it.
You can do it. Sorry, I had to. Kids, that was from a movie by Adam Sandler called The Water Boy from back in the 90s.
You can do it.
You remember your parents may have mentioned the 1990s. All right. Anyway, on that ridiculously bad note of my own. All right. So we've kind of covered this a little bit. I wanted to pull something up first that I really wanted to zone in on. I am a frequent user of a website called playoffstatus.com. And this is a site that mathematically tracks, the odds of teams in any league, including Major League Baseball, including a lot of different places, hockey and so forth, on where a team is going to land come playoff time. So right now, this is the record in the East. NYCFC is currently, as you can see, in 10th overall, their record. And this is where they're placed right now based on what the statistics are of where they're going to land. So at the moment, if you can see, NYCFC currently has a 57% chance of making the postseason, but 43% chance of not. The odds are Bracey brought me down to the 8th and 9th spot. What are your thoughts on this? Do you agree with it? Do you not agree with it? Is there anything on this whole thing that maybe you do disagree with?
So I'm looking at that 43%, and it's standing out to me like a sore thumb.
Very much so, yes.
Mainly because, like I said at the top of this, we're at that point in the season where you are what your record says you are. And essentially the record is saying that it's roughly a 50-50 chance,
Pretty close
or I
to it.
guess in this case a 60-40 60-40 chance that the team misses the playoffs. Now the question, I mean, I felt this since the results started getting iffy. The question isn't, are we going to make the playoffs? The question should be, in the likely event that we miss the playoffs, do we blame that on Pascal? Should that be chalked off as a failure on his part? Personally, for me, no, absolutely not. First year coach, not his squad. There's been one player in, the rest have been youth team signings. And the issues with the front office are very well known, very well publicized. And and that's a large part of why the team is struggling, because it is shorthanded, right? It stands to reason that I'd say, like, I give Pascal this season as a mulligan.
Fair.
It's figure out who my best guys are, figure out what the right shape is for the core players, figure out who the core players are, right? And it's very obvious he's kind of landing on, he's answering a lot of those questions, right? The way he talks about certain guys, the way the frequency with which he uses certain guys, the way he relies on certain guys. You could tell who his core guys are and who the like tertiary, the outskirt players are. And I feel like give him a good off season, a good transfer window, and you have a situation where this team could possibly be a proper contender next season. And I know I don't want to jump too far ahead, obviously. I don't want to talk about next season, but I'm just saying, like, missing the playoffs is very likely, and it's not something I blame on Pascal.
I can see your point on this. And by the way, I looked it up. Last year, after 17 games, NYCFC was 9-6-2.
Oof.
So that would have put them at 29 points, which I don't have what the record was across the league at 17 points, not in this amount of time. But were the situations hypothetically the same, that would put them tied for third in the East, between 3, 4, and 5.
Right.
Also, at the same time, when you look at it that perspective, the absolute tight level that is between second place and 10th right now, even 11th, you want to include the Revs into that mix. I mean, dude, it's 7 points between 2 and 10.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. That's real. Yeah, that's true.
And ironically enough, it's funny because actually you look at the Revs. The Revs have an 85% chance of making the postseason because of the way probably their record works out.
Mm-hmm.
And then the matches that they have upcoming, and there might be a lot of home matches. I'm not sure yet, but yeah, it's only a 7-point swing. And remember, the Revs had a really rough start. But it's funny because NYCFC right now is technically on the outside looking in. They got a couple theoretically winnable matches coming up. Atlanta, we talked about. Their record at home, by the way, against Atlanta historically is 3-1-3 at Yankee Stadium and 4-1-4 overall, including a Citi Field match and a RBNY match.
Okay.
So historically, they have done well against Atlanta United at home and at Yankee Stadium. Do I know what the Thursday records are? No, I don't. But historically, there is a good odd there. I do not believe Ronnie Dyla's influence is going to have a lot of impact on something like this because he's been away from the team for too long. This is not like Luis Barraza or Cody Mazzell, who had so much familiarity with the team and then suddenly were playing against them. At this point, his knowledge base has dropped. So I think NYCFC can win this game. I'm curious to see how sluggish they're going to be coming out of the gate because it's going to be a slow. Neither team has played. So you might have the first half hour of this match without even a shot on goal going on.
Maybe.
It'll be boring as shit, but it may happen.
Now, when it comes to playing our exes, the record isn't great, right? And of all exes, Ronnie is the big one.
Yeah,
Ronnie's the
but
big
again,
one.
like I said, it's been 3 years since he left. This roster has completely, I mean, with the exception of, some very, very few players like Tavon and we mentioned Maxey, by and large, the entire roster has been overrun. I mean, the entire offense is a totally different offense.
But you should know the relationship isn't the dynamic, the energy is not between Ronnie and the squad. It's Ronnie and the fans.
Oh,
and
the fans
are the same.
The fans, yeah, I think the fans are going to give him some love when, I think, how do they not? Because Ronnie was, not just a guy who won the championship in 2021, but he was kind of the people's coach. He was a fan. You could tell he was a fan also, and that there was a passion and there was a drive and there was just there was dude energy from that guy, and I think that resonated with the fan base. So yes, I think he's going to get a really warm welcome on Thursday.
Right.
But once kickoff starts, I think at that point they're like, Ronnie, you suck.
Yeah. Like I said, we haven't had a great record against X's this season, and we'll see how that goes. I mean, that's just the banter side of it for me. I'll rarely ever bet against this team. That's the bets. I'm the worst person to ask for predictions. I'll rarely ever bet against this team.
1-0 is certainly plausible, I think, here.
No, there you go. 1-0.
There you go. So that's my prediction. NYCFC will win this game 1-0. It'll be a boring slog. Goal probably like 75, 80 minutes in.
But 1-0 because of the break, despite 4-3 last time.
Yes.
Okay.
I think a lot of that had to do with the field too, down there.
Okay, a lot of bouncy balls.
Dude,
yeah.
I mean,
miscontrols. I see what you're talking about.
So I think that had a lot to do with it, and so there's that. After that, basically, there's another break. Good Lord, this season, man. This is such a weird league, man. I mean, there was 8 games last month, 2 this month. So we're gonna basically take this, all the way out to like the end of July, I think, with this preview schedule here. But yeah, they have the match on the 12th, and then 16 days later, they have another match. In this case, going up against Montreal in Montreal. Against Club de Foot. They are 6-2-2 on the road against Club Foot. So this statistically, I think the odds will be in their favor. I do not think they're going to want to lose to Montreal twice. I think they're going to hate play on that one.
Yeah.
It might be a little sluggish, but I don't think it's going to be as sluggish.
The Montreal game, home game or away game?
Road game, Canada.
Road game. Weirdly, this team has actually been pretty. That's the one thing credit I give them. They've been all right on the road. I wouldn't say amazing, but they've been all right on the road.
Yeah,
they haven't gone on the road and put in performances that look like they were backed into a corner. They've gone and challenged people at their home spot. So. That could be a good turnout for that game as well.
Yes, NYCFC has 7 points on the road in 8 matches. Montreal has 3 points in 7 matches at home. And then the one win in the season came on the road. We know that one already. So historically speaking, NYCFC does have the favor on that particular match. And then suddenly, bam, we're now into July. There are 5 matches on the docket. Maybe we'll just do the first couple. I think that will take us a little over a month out at this point. After that, they will be at home against Toronto. Historically, it's a little back and forth. Their record at home against Toronto is 5-3-4. Obviously, there is a little bit of a saltiness that goes on from everything that happened last year. And of course, when it comes down to it, Sean Johnson still being salty over NYCFC and Nick Cushing. So, drink a little water with the salt.
X's, man.
Dude.
Yeah, it's hard to properly preview how the second half of the season is going to go. Especially with the team still struggling to find consistent form. So I'm going to recuse myself from any further predictions.
I'm not going to do a prediction at this point, but I'm just throwing out numbers and stats. But all right, and the last one I'll do in this case, just to round it out. They're playing in Charlotte, by the way, for July 12th.
Mm-hmm.
They have never won in Charlotte. They're 0-3-0. They've never gotten a single point in Charlotte, and have been outscored 5-2 in 3 matches. So Charlotte, that's going to be a damn dude. We weren't here last week. Trust me, we're more late than you are. So,
damn sorry I'm late.
All right.
I've had a few lovely young women say that to me in my lifetime.
Good night, everybody. By the way, I'm going to humble brag a little bit here. We just interviewed Paul Rugg on Tuesday. He won Emmys for Animaniacs, Freakazoid, and a bunch of other stuff there for creating and voicing. And Yakko's phrase from that show was "Good night, everybody." So it's still on my hit list there. So, but yeah, that was indeed a next level. By the way, how's your wife doing? Is she okay? How's she doing? Don't want to stop.
Yeah, that old lady.
Oh yeah. So, I think mine's asleep to YouTube.
Don't worry, she doesn't watch this.
Okay. So, let's see. Timestamp 56:17. Okay, good to know. Just taking notes. La 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 la. But yeah, as far as the last match, the 4 upcoming, which now again takes it all the way out to July 12th. The match is on the road against Charlotte. They have not done historically well against Charlotte. And Charlotte also is a team that has improved a fair bit. They're currently sitting in 8th place, but they are 6-2 on the road right now this season. So that is going to be a no picnic match. NYCFC also, by the way, has more matches on the road than they do at home. They have 8 more matches at home, but they have 9 more matches on the road. So that could be a little interesting to see where that plays out.
It was really interesting the last month with the team doing the whole simultaneous press conference mix zone thing.
Yeah, that was no, the fans don't know about that one actually.
Yeah, but I kind of I liked what I was that experience of it because I just wanted to see which one everyone was going to pick, and it's just so interesting to me that for the most part people were picking the mix zone over talking to Pascal. Hello? It froze.
Honey.
Hello?
Oop.
Yeah. Now you're back. Now you're back.
How many fingers? About that was freaking.
I think it might be my internet. It might be my internet.
No, I think it was me. Yeah, it's not you. It's me. So.
Also, okay, no, never mind.
Yeah, no. If you want to blame me, it's fine. But yeah, I hated that thing. I hated that mix zone setup. I understand why they wanted to do it, but it forced me to have to think. Pascal players, and the players were just like, I don't want to deal with this anyway. They just wanted to get home, because that last month was just brutal for them.
That's kind of why I chose Pascal over the players, because for the most part, the players I feel bad for them. They want to go home. They're tired. Like, they don't feel like answering all these questions that they get asked every week anyways. So like with Pascal, he seems like he actually enjoys engaging and answering our questions. And so I feel like I get a little bit more insight into the team from him than I do from the guys, with all due respect to them.
Yeah, with the players, it's a little different because, again, they're in a training session right now. That month was tough, tougher even after a loss. Mm-hmm. I mean, it comes with the territory. You have to answer press questions in a loss, but you don't want to bother. You're mandatorily legally required to. But Pascal, it's funny because Pascal is not as personable with us as, say, Nick Cushing or even Ronnie Dyla was. He's much more businesslike. And
Mhm.
to me, I kind of miss a little bit of that human aspect of it that like Ronnie or Nick Cushing had. But from a tactical standpoint, yes, I think he's a lot more precise, and he's a lot more what the fans want to hear. You know,
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think it gives a little bit more. Like I agree with you. There's very much a business-like kind of vibe to him, but Nick and Ronnie, for all their personability, if that's a word,
works.
uh,
Works.
it works. They rarely ever truly answered questions.
Mm-hmm.
They would give you very nothing answers, and understandably, a lot of guys would avoid the pressers for the most part. But at least with Nick. But with Pascal, for me, I look forward to the being able to ask him, toss tactical questions at him, because he really takes the time to unpack it, and he has no shame in expressing his intentions, his why,
Mm-hmm.
and it's in a weird way he's also instructing as he goes. He can't help but be a coach in those moments, so he's also kind of coaching in those press conference conversations. But yeah, I'm enjoying that, and I enjoyed this experience with kind of having him to ourselves because everyone else is off talking to the players.
Sure. And I like the fact that he gives proper answers to things, and he's not afraid to call people out, even publicly.
Yeah.
I think a little bit too. And there's where that intimidation factor comes in.
Yeah.
Ronnie Dyla is the kind of dude that you would drink beer with on a couch, and just seriously, he's the kind of guy, and Cushing, I think Cushing is the kind of guy who would drink a soda with you on the couch. Dyla would basically sit there and drink, beer with you on the couch.
No. I'll tell you what it is. Dyla will invite you over and watch, and you guys will watch Wheel of Fortune over some beers, right?
Or even MMA or just something on, yeah.
Cushing will share a drink with you at a dinner party and converse with you and like include you in the conversation, but he won't necessarily invite you over to his house, right? And Pascal is like he's the best coworker you could have. He's that coworker who still speaks to you like you're a person and dignifies your questions with adult answers. You know what I mean?
Work-life balance is separated.
Yeah.
Yeah. My work is my work. My life is my life, and never the twain shall meet. So like I said, I miss a little bit of that human aspect of it, but that's just me and how I feel on it. But I don't judge him in the slightest on that.
Because you're a big old teddy bear.
I do. Okay, you and I have experience in the film industry. You know, I am referred to as a bear type.
There you
go. Which has caused problems years ago when my Instagram was like 57,000 because because it really kind of took off really well. I used to get a lot of invites, from the South Asian male community, if you get my drift. Who were just leading from the front in every way possible.
That's mad specific. Dude, hey, listen, thank you. By the way, thank you for eclipsing my comment earlier.
Listen, I haven't I'm using innuendos as much as possible here, but
no. Listen, everyone is. We're getting what you're throwing down.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. So it was always funny because I would just get these messages out of nowhere, and it's like, yep, that's definitely a penis.
Is there any chance that they were making promises to love you long time?
No, but it's funny. The Asian community was just like, Hey,
I'll take your word for it. We'll talk about it off air.
Honestly, yeah. There was an Italian guy once that, that's another conversation. And I was like, wow, that's.
I feel so thankful. I feel so thankful that for whatever reason, I've not ever had to deal with that type of stuff. But I'm also very chronically offline. Like I don't answer anything, DMs, texts, nothing. I'm very like old school in that way.
I've had this problem on film.
This is the most online thing I do.
I've had problems on film sets too. There was a rare movie once that had this really upscale scene, and there was a dude assigned to a table with us. I was just a background actor in this movie, and yeah, he was all kinds of just making a move there. Not got a little creepy. So after I got married, it got a little better because I'm just like
on the Mike Tyson show, I played this prisoner that gets shanked in the shower.
Ooh.
So and the person doing the shanking is happened to be my best friend, who was also the double for Black Panther.
Nice. Okay.
And so he he always jokes. We talked about this the other day, actually. He jokes about the fact that he's like, it's funny that wasn't the first time I saw it. It wasn't.
So you were full junk out on that one?
No, not extras, KP. I'm a stunt performer.
No, I know, but you were full junk out.
Oh yeah. I did a naked fight scene.
All right.
Naked fight scene with a blood bag in my hand. I get stabbed and pop the blood bag, and we did it 8 times. And each time,
he's more stunned. I've done first team. Yeah, we'll get to my nudie story in a second, but we're going to continue with yours.
the intimacy coordinator. Mind you, this is a closed set, right?
Yes,
so it's the director, the camera operator, myself, the 2 other actors in the scenes, and obviously my friend who's the killer. So it's the 2 of us as stunt performers. And so I have a robe, and when we're ready to shoot, in between each take, I take the robe off, I put it off to the side out of frame, and then I go and I start the shower sequence of it, and then the camera catches him walking in. And each time I disrobe, the actor, who is a guy I grew up watching in movies since I was a kid, right?
Well, like I saw him in, wasn't it? Jamie Foxx played Tyson, right?
No. It was. It was a Hulu one.
Oh, it was crap. The guy with the initials, I think.
So anyway. The actor I'm talking about is Russell Hornsby.
Okay.
And this is like I said, this is a guy whose face I know it. It's seared into my memory. He's actually the guy, the boyfriend. Is he? No.
Oh yeah, he played Don King. Okay.
Yeah. He played Don King. And each time I disrobe, this guy's glancing down at my junk, and I'm like, what can I say? I'm there. It's there. I can't blame you. Right. So here we are. Luckily, the water was I was able to make it hot.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. I was supposed to be naked for a scene on The Deuce in season 1.
Oh, The Deuce.
But the director, I forget what her name. I forgot what her name was. In this case, she's like, nah, he can be in underwear. They have to be topless. So I'm sitting there doing an adult scene in this case, and thank God I was like in my underwear. But again, the closed set part of it is so skeleton crew, because what a lot of people don't realize is that when you have a regular film set for just a scene, exterior, whatever it is, you got like 100 crew people all over the place. But when you have a closed set like that, then you're down to like 10, where it's only the necessary people there and everybody else out.
Yeah.
We'll come back to this in a second. We'll just finish this, I guess, with this. That scene
no, KP, you're late. You missed the NYCFC stuff. You're in the. That's true. That's true. You're in the industry chat 45 minutes
to an hour, I think.
Yeah.
The adult scene that I had with me plowing this prostitute while I was being robbed in the first season, it aired the day after I got married. So my in-laws.
Wait, you were that guy?
Oh, in like season, the first was like, sorry, I got nothing left. Like I'm plowing one prostitute while the other one's like robbing me. In the first season, yeah, that was me.
Yes, I remember. That's one of the few scenes I remember.
That was me. That was literally me.
Oh my god, that is actually crazy.
Yeah, that was like I said, and it was funny because because they give you the sock, this whole that cock sock, and she was thank God the director was just like, just put him in his underwear. We're not going to see anything anyway. And I'm like, right. Thank God, But my in-laws, who were my in-laws for about 24 hours at this point, had seen me basically in this, right the day after. I was standing in regularly on Orange is the New Black. at that time. So I went back to set on Monday for scenes that we were filming, and the sound engineer is like, I saw the Deuce last night. And he's like, I can't look at you the same way after this. But yeah, I still get residuals on that to this day. Like, the dollar, the 85 cent residuals, because it airs in Bulgaria. I get 15 cents.
Bro, Mike is still lining those pockets. I remember the intimacy coordinator came into my trailer, and it's this really kind, nice, like around my age, white girl. She comes and sits down, and she's like, so I'm the intimacy coordinator, and I just wanted to come in, to walk you through what's going to happen, da 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 da. And she also brought my contract, my intimacy contract or whatever. And she tried her best to be very gentle. That's weird wording. I meant like she, careful,
that works.
right? No, she she was like, if you're uncomfortable, we don't have to do it. And the whole time, I'm thinking like, stunt guys, we're like soldiers. So like, I don't care about being naked and doing a fight scene. That's no big deal. Oh, possible signs for the second half of the season. We could jump into that.
Oh yeah, actually, that's probably just as good a cue as any at this point. Now that we just spent 10 minutes talking about being naked in TV shows and being paid for it. Yeah, I mean, signings, I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it. I have one question regarding signings in general across the league, which I'll pitch to you, but I'll get your thoughts. I'm going to say they're probably not going to do anything, but what do you think?
I anticipate that as well. Like, it's if they were going to do anything for this season to make something of this season, they would have done it in that last window.
Yeah.
I think the team, the way that the team looks right now is what it's going to look like by the end of the season.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to make a lot of moves. I mean, you talked about this being a training year for Pascal. He might be using this year and then using the offseason and the other training windows to reevaluate what needs to be done. But he might be tossing this up as a wash year. What I am curious about, and this is where we haven't talked about it yet since we didn't do a show last week, but the whole conversation and the possibility about Ronaldo. I mean, listen, I know I'm bringing it up just because I feel like bringing it up, but there was some talk for a while there about Ronaldo possibly going to LA. Ronaldo being the new Messi, because the Messi deal apparently is not working out. He may be out of Miami by the end of the season. Yes, we will be in the Leagues Cup. That is fine, and that's not going to make a difference in this team. Because remember, David Lee, Brad Sims, they work for a higher power. No, I don't mean Jesus. Although they might. Who knows? But I'm curious in this case if Ronaldo is going to be the new Messi.
That would be interesting. Yeah, that would be interesting. It would be nice to have him come and kind of leave a stamp on the league, especially after remaining relevant as an athlete from his win today. And man, if he finishes it, I mean, that the timing of that, it would mean he would probably finish his career here. But yeah, it's not, whether he comes or not, it makes no difference really. And I'm not sure how does that relate to New York? How is that related to New York?
It doesn't, but we were talking about signings. We don't think NYCFC is going to be doing much that, in this case here, Portugal one, that's correct. Yeah. By the way, I'm just going to throw this out there for funsies, just basically because I'm feeling like, hawking out the other channel. If you want to hear more about my stories and our stories on film sets, by the way, yes, I am still recovering from a broken toe on a Spielberg film. Head over to Streampunk Cinema on YouTube. We got stories, we got interviews, we got all that kind of cool stuff. So there we go.
I mean, judging, that's a great question. And I have a genuinely serious answer that's going to feel like a banter answer. For some reason, this league does not funnel stars to the right teams. And I know it sounds a little bit unfair, why should Minnesota suffer just because it's Minnesota? But like, why would we send Drogba to Montreal? That's Didier Drogba, you know? So for me, CR7 could just as likely end up at Inter Miami or LAFC or LA Galaxy, just like Beckham, which is,
Boy,
they're
would that increase their playoff chances right out of the gate? Messi made it interesting 2 years ago.
Yeah.
For
and it would just be an interesting storyline to see, like, for the first time in history, even if they're elderly now, to have CR7 and Messi play on the same team.
You got to stop getting these guys that are over the hill, man. MLS is basically, it's the league where players go to die.
It's not any. I disagree. I don't think it's that anymore. It's sort of that. It moonlights as a old person's home, but it's definitely a place where talent can develop as well. And there's value in bringing experienced guys here. Like, yeah, okay, they're older. They're not the same athletes that they were maybe 5 or 10 years previous, but there's a wealth of knowledge and big game experience that they can bring.
Which
like
is
Robbie,
true, but like I said, it's getting the reputation that way. Because you talked about
Robbie Keane came to LA Galaxy and found a second wind. Like, he's one of the best strikers that this league has ever seen, and I think he takes pride in that. I genuinely think Robbie Keane takes pride in being one of the best players that's ever played in the MLS. Yeah, that's very true.
I'm talking about it from the standpoint of if you went from a Premier League over. People from Premier League like Lionel Messi, or Beckham or Ronaldo. These guys are world acclaimed, but curiously, the sunset of their career, where do they end up? America.
Yeah, but it's like I said,
Ronaldo, if Ronaldo
appreciate
comes over
it.
here, that's just another example of that. That's what I'm talking about right there.
It is, but
it's where
he offers.
Let me clarify that. It's where Premier League players' careers go to die.
Man, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being a Premier League graveyard. It's there's young players or young people who happen to watch the MLS, who might not watch the MLS, might watch the MLS because a name like Ronaldo comes to the MLS, right? And in so doing, when they start watching this league, and then when they start observing the quality here, they'll start to go, "Oh wait, whoa, we have something here." And then they'll also observe Ronaldo and see how he compares to the talent here. Yeah, even at age 40, even though he's 40 years old, it's still worth seeing. So, no, I hear you though. It's got to try to shed that Premier League graveyard label.
When Messi came over, when Messi came over, my first thought was, okay, fine. I would have preferred Mbappe, somebody who still can grow with, Neymar might even, Neymar's 33, so he's not. How old's Messi now? 37, 38,
36 or 7, yeah.
Okay, so he's borderline the same age. So Neymar, I don't know, but like I said, I'd rather see someone with a 2 as their first number. Where I think that helps a little bit too, where you're not carrying their Instagram following, but you can still see these guys while they're not, while they still have, like, in their prime, dude. You need prime guys.
That comment that he just said, the Premier League comment. It's one of the highest levels. Yeah. I actually, it depends on what your preferences are, right? If you like an athletic, fast-paced type of, high-powered offenses, solid defense, if that's what you're looking for, if you're looking for sweaty football, then yes, Premier League. But But I actually think the highest level of football is currently being played in Serie A.
Probably,
And
yeah.
that's a conversation for a different date. But I feel like there are better managers there by and large. You could throw a rock and hit 7 Serie A teams that could challenge in Champions League. More so than you would with Premier League. Like Tottenham, what did Tottenham win recently? The Europa League?
I think so, yeah.
Tottenham won the Europa
Last
League
one.
after what was a pretty disappointing season. And we suddenly and stuff like that gets completely forgotten just because of that one trophy. And I don't know. I think the Premier League gets a lot of slack, a lot of forgiveness for, the bar is low when it comes to the standard that we hold the Premier League to. But if we're talking like real high football standards, Serie A to me is the highest level of football in the world.
So not Northern Ireland, Northern Ireland, the NIPL, the Northern Ireland Premier League.
It would be Serie A, Premier League, La Liga. People kind of sleep on Bundesliga, and it's a tie between Eredivisie and Liga. I would err more towards the Eredivisie, but yeah.
I'm only going to throw this out there for the funsies of it, but the Carrick Rangers owner and I've been actually in contact. We've been in conversation the last few days, about the possibility of buying an ownership stake in the team. And possibly collabing in some regard between Streampunk Entertainment and the Carrick Rangers of Ireland.
Yeah. Speaking of KP, neither do I, but I'm going to commit a lot more of my time. I'm going to commit more of my time to watching Serie A more than Premier League. Premier League, I'll just watch highlights from now on, but Serie A, I'm going to try to catch most of the games.
And me, I'm caught up in the business side of this so much that I struggle a little bit with my own schedule. So,
all right.
Anyway, it's about 10:30. You want to call it?
1 hour and 20 minutes. I think
it's about
that's
10:30. So, you good, sir? You think?
Yeah.
All right. So, appreciate it. We will be back. 9 p.m. Friday next Sunday. We will be breaking down both the match that the Atlanta match on Thursday, the reviewing and the previewing of what the rest of the month is going to look like. We'll talk a little bit more about everything that's going on right now as far as, in Europe too. We'll talk Totti. We haven't talked Totti in a while. Maybe what I'll do is, if I get the time, I'll put together like a highlight video of some of the cooler stuff that's happened this season. We will be reviewing the Atlanta match also and break that down, what's going on in that part of it. And kind of go from there. So, all right. So for all you guys, I know that basically I saw the numbers. Not bad for basically missing a week. I'll live with it. But until next time, I'm Scott. That's Haylon. Thanks for everything. Take care. Stay awesome.